Into Two Daves and a Mike spinoff podcast, Shelby Golden Lions football. David Allen, DA, along with Jacari Shell, Juice in the house. And my goodness gracious, talk about in the house tonight up at East Rutherford High School. And Juice, we said last week East Rutherford hadn't played a soul, and it came to fruition tonight that the lack of scheduling for East Rutherford I don't know if that had anything to do with them getting beat tonight, but they got trucked tonight.
I mean, it started off a shootout. You thought it was going to be one of those games where both teams to score in the 50s, and then it's just Shelby just decided to take off. And I think what changed the dynamics of the game was the fourth down they went for on like their own 30-yard line, and they didn't get it. And then Shelby went up 2 scores, and it was like that's kind of where it all started, and it just continued to go from there. But I think this was the best game Shelby played all season easily, and it came at the right time where you need these guys to roll, and it's perfect. Honestly, I think if they play like this, I don't see a single team beating this. If you clean up the special teams and eliminate the special teams touchdowns, I don't think a single team in 3A can touch this team.
Golden Lions were 8 for 8 possessions and touchdowns in the first half. It was 58-20 at halftime. Again, Barry in the lead. Sorry, Shelby wins at 65-34. But in that 58-20 lead at halftime, the Golden Lions gave up 2 kickoff return touchdowns. So 2 of the 3 East Rutherford touchdowns in the first half were kickoff returns. Otherwise, the Shelby defense was on point. The Pinkerton kid that we had talked about ad nauseum last week, running for 376 yards and 5 touchdowns against High Brighton. Golden Lions held him to 27 yards on 10 carries, I think. Maybe it's 11 carries, but it was 24 yards rushing in the first half, Juice, and 3 yards rushing in the second half. I guess in the second half when they scored a couple of touchdowns on the running clock against the JVs in the second half. Yeah. But otherwise, outside the 2 kickoff returns, which Shelby can't cover a kick, and they hadn't covered a kick in 40 years. That's not new. I don't know why that is. But needless to say, you take away the 2 kick returns, and this was almost a dominating performance for the Golden Lions, as much as one that they've had all year, even the 90-0 game.
It was, I mean, it was pure domination from Shelby, and it's really good. Like I spoke on earlier, this is what you need, especially you clicking on all cylinders at the right time in a run to try to get to the state championship game. I think last week we were talking about the seeding, and I think I mentioned about this Shelby team isn't a 10th seed at all. Like I think this might be the most dangerous 10th seed, and I don't know how long. Like I think if I can compare it to something, I know you'll love this comparison, but it's when UNC was that 10th seed in the tournament that one year, and they messed around and went to the national championship. Like I think it's a comparison in that. It's like you don't want to see this team. Like I don't not when they clicking like this on all cylinders. But it was a really great game, and you got Land play spectacular in the run game, especially when it gets down to the red zone area inside the 5 when they do the jumbo package. And he was just dialing it up all night to those playmakers. And Lorenzo Roseborough had a really good game as well. So Shelby did a great job. It was amazing, especially their defense. Had troubles with stopping the run all season and held a great running back to only 27 yards rushing. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, you talk about Lamb Farmer. I mean, the kid is like 6'3", 240. Yeah. I mean, he is like Cam Newton out there, and they have never, in the 3 years that he's been the starting quarterback, and with the little bit of exception of the Crest game earlier in the year, they have never really asked him to be a runner at quarterback. And he ran the ball some last week in that game. And he ran the ball some against Burns, but not very well. But the one thing he is absolutely able to do is from the 2-yard line, get you 2 yards. Because, I mean, he just gets up in there behind whoever on the offensive line. I mean, he really can pick his spot. But he is a big man, and how many did he score rushing tonight? Like 3?
2 or 3. I mean, I think he threw for maybe 2. and you probably rushed for 2 or 3.
Well,
But
Roseboro
Jonas,
had, I know Roseboro had, didn't he have 3 tonight?
I think he had 2.
Okay.
No,
Well,
3.
needless
It was
needless to
3.
say,
It was 3.
they were clicking tonight.
Yeah.
Jonas Woods, the freshman, you gotta love him. 209 yards on the ground tonight. He also had a 30-something yard catch. At one point, he had 2
Which is
touchdowns.
huge. That was the first drive he had that catch, and it was 3rd down, and that was
Yeah.
so huge.
Yeah, so Jonas looked really good. But, I mean, let's give credit on the defensive side because we saw what Burns was able to do running the football against this defense, and we were concerned. I think a lot of people were concerned. I don't think it's just me and you, Juice. I think there were a lot of people concerned
Yeah.
with the possibility of the Pinkerton kid having a big night, and that was not in the cards tonight. The Shelby defense was equal to the task this evening.
And not even just the run defense. The pass rush was amazing too, with Tyson and Noah Gardner and Hopper getting back there. I know Noah had a sack or two, and I think the linebackers did a really great job at playing physical downhill, being able having great gap integrity coming downhill. I know Nodine had a huge stop in the second half on a 3rd down that kind of forced it to 4th, and that's when Shelby took over and ended up scoring in the second half. But also, I want to give a huge shout out in the secondary with Key. He's probably around 5'6", in between 5'8", his height, and the way he comes downhill, being that small and makes tackles the way he does is quite literally is amazing at his size. Like, he's probably 5'7", 140, and the way he comes down and hit these guys and cuss them is it's really good to see having a leader like that in the secondary that's not scared to make a tackle.
Absolutely. And we said last week that the linebackers and DBs were going to have to make tackles, and they did.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. You mentioned Grady Nodine. You also got Landon Hollifield, who had a good game tonight at linebacker. And then, like you said, the kids in the defensive secondary, not shy, were able to come up. And, early in that ball game, Juice, East Rutherford was making no bones about what they were doing either. They were lining up with essentially 10 guys blocking for Pinkerton, trying to get him going. And, I mean, they were getting 2 yards a carry. And they did convert a couple of 4th downs early to keep the chains moving and kind of thing. But you already mentioned they went for it on 4th down deep in their end, or not deep in their end, but kind of mid in their end. And I looked at my wife and said, if we stop them here, this is going to be the turning point in the ball game, because if we get up 2 scores, they're not going to catch us. And that's exactly what happened. And once we got up 2 scores, it was like we might as well have been up 6 scores because it was over with.
And if they
And
didn't get that second kickoff return, I think they would have laid down even earlier.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, again, 20 points at halftime, trailing by 40, trailing by 38, which is the magic. 35 is the magic number for the running clock. So we got the running clock in the second half, and actually we scored first to go up 65-20. And then they got a couple again. They got a couple of by the wayers against the JV guys, and credit to them. And then there was the big incomplete pass. And people wonder all the time, why have they started doing that little pitch forward instead of a pitch back? And it's because the difference between when the ball hits the ground, it's an incomplete pass versus a fumble. So the ball hits the ground, they pick it up and run it in for a touchdown. They're going crazy because, it wouldn't have made that much difference in the overall grand scheme of things.
No.
But the officials got together, put their heads together on that. And then they got an unsportsmanlike on that call as well, on that play as well, because our guys on the sideline were making the shooting basketball motion basically, and we're jack-jawing with them a little bit. And I don't blame East Rutherford for getting that 15-yarder. Our guys were running their mouth too. So penalties were a non-issue tonight, and that was a good thing to see because, Juice, we've been talking about that the entire first quarter. No penalty flags on the ground for either team. And then the first drive of the second quarter, I think there were 3 penalties, 2 against Shelby. And I saw all 3 of them, and I said those are all 3 good calls. So no complaints about that tonight. But again, dominating effort tonight for the Golden Lions.
Again, like you said, what I was going to mention is the penalties. They did a great job eliminating those penalties. The penalties that they had is easy fixable penalties. I mean, I know one penalty they had, T picked up Jonas and was trying to carry him, which is a flag.
Yeah, he's
It
been
was funny.
watching the tush push on
Yeah.
Sunday afternoons too much. You can't do that in high school
Yeah.
football.
And then a couple of them was just like holdings and things like that. But I mean, I'm glad they were able to capitalize off opportunities like that. But I mean, again, Shelby was just amazing all night. I think if you just clean up the special teams area, I think this team is hard to stop when they play like that, and it's really hard in general to stop an offense when you're playing that fast, like not even really fast with tempo wise, but you got so many weapons to use. Like you got Jonas Woods, who's a freshman, and he's playing out of his mind, stepping in for Tate. And you got the guys on the perimeter. Like we speak about Man and JJ Williams, and really they didn't even do a lot tonight. It was Raper who's a dynamic playmaker, and he's such a game changer. And I think his ability to when he catches it after contact, being able to juke a defender and get up the field, and I think that's one of his special traits that any playmaker can have, and it's such like him. So I think it's hard to stop the Shelby offense when it's rolling like that.
Absolutely, and they did get it rolling tonight big time. But hey, Shelby not the only offense in the county that got it rolling tonight. Burns over West Stanley tonight, 49-7. We said it last week. West Stanley coming in was a 2-win team. They got, I don't know if we talked about them last week, but anyway.
They upset somebody.
Yeah, they beat Lexington last week to get to Burns, and Burns kept everybody out tonight. The Davis kid did not play tonight. Their other wide receiver, and I can't think of his name, got hurt on the first play of the game and didn't play the rest of the game. So Burns rested some people tonight. Didn't really need them, obviously, against a 2-win team. So they won 49-7. Crest just absolutely demolished Concord tonight, 69-6. I hate that because that's Coach Darren Shepard that used to be a part of the Shelby
staff. I forgot Shepard was there.
Yeah, Shepard's their head coach, and they got thumped big time, 69-6 the final. And how about East Rutherford? I mean, how about Kings Mountain, excuse me, going to TC Roberson tonight as a 10 seed out of 7, just like Shelby, a 10 going to a 7, and East Rutherford. And Kings Mountain held on and won 21-20 at TC Roberson tonight. So a 4-for-4 night for the Cleveland County teams. All 4 advance to the 3rd round. So for Shelby next week, that will be Mount Airy. Mount Airy,
I was just looking up their score.
52-0 tonight over Thomasville. The Bulldogs are a perennial power, have been for years, but so has Mount Airy in the 1A. So both of those teams moved up, and Mount Airy obviously just put the hammer down on Thomasville tonight. But so Shelby's going to have to travel, and I looked it up. That's about a 2-hour drive for us. It's above Winston-Salem on I-77. So if you're going I-77, just keep on trucking, and it's up there above Winston-Salem. But it's going to be about a 2-hour drive for us next week. So, man, a good crowd on the Shelby side tonight at East Rutherford. A lot of folks getting into the game. It's what
for the whole game too. So I mean, it's really
absolutely,
great.
And it's what you miss when you don't come to the game. So I'm telling you, come to the game. Let's have another big crowd at Mount Airy next week. Take Friday afternoon off if you have to. I mean, if you're retired like me, it doesn't matter. But get on in the car and get on up to Mount Airy next Friday night to cheer on the Golden Lions. So I think Burns goes to Brevard next week. That's going to be a tough one for Burns. And I'm not sure about Kings Mountain and Crest. I think Crest will have East Lincoln next week. And that game would be at Crest. So that would be obviously a big game and a lot of interest in that game because East Lincoln has been really good for the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. They've been really good. And, of course, Crest is always good. So that's going to be a good one. I'm not exactly sure who's Kings Mountain's got next, but we can look that up. But all that being said, it was a good night for Cleveland County football, good night for the Golden Lions as they will advance now again to play Mount Airy. Mount Airy has been a couple of times state champion in the 1A juice, and that Cordovian or whatever, that weird school that nobody had ever heard of, and we had them in the Jamboree last year. It was their first year of competitive high school football and went all the way to the state championship. They beat Mount Airy in the Western Finals and then lost to Tarboro in the state championship game in the 1A. So Mount Airy was really good in 1A last year. Obviously, it's a big jump for them moving from 1A to 3A. You know, who knows? We might go up there and get whipped, or we might go up there and put the wood to them like we did East Rutherford tonight. I'm not sure, but let's just say the Golden Lions hitting it on all cylinders tonight. So we hope they'll continue that next week.
Yeah, I was looking at this Mount Airy schedule. I got it pulled up, and
all right, talk to me.
So they beat Starmount 21-6, beat East Wilkes 23-16, got demolished by Wutaga 61-7, and then got beat by JFHS 42-7. I'm gonna just say notable wins. I mean, big wins. They beat North Surrey 63-21, and then from North Surrey on down, they just been scoring all the way in the above 40s and just demolishing teams. Gave up not even 20, probably gave up not even 30 points to all of these teams that they played combined together from 10-10 to 11-14. So seems like I don't know. I don't even know if any of these schools are. I'm assuming some of these schools are 1A. I'm assuming like East Surrey, Surrey Central, Fort Bush, West Oaks.
Yeah, I don't even know what. I'm not familiar enough with their conference to know whether or not they're in a split conference. I mean, because we're in a split conference, so we play 2A teams in our conference with Cherryville, Bessemer, and Highland Tech are all 2A. So it's very conceivable that they were being a 2A, 3A split as well. So I wouldn't think they were 1A schools, but they could be 2As.
I remember West Oaks because I remember we played them in basketball my junior year, and I think they were 2A. I think they're in Winston-Salem.
We played them in the Western Finals the year that I'm pretty sure it was the year that Dalen Fuller was quarterback. It was like 2011, 2012 in there somewhere.
Interesting.
I
mean, they're 9-2 overall, 5-0 in conference. Trying to look at some of the stats, and they got a guy who runs for 166 yards a game. Receiver has 57. Rushing, I mean, I think they're probably they look well balanced. The highest receiver has 514 yards, and then the next closest has 172.
So they're primarily going to run the ball. If they've got a kid that's rushing for 160 something a game, you know, that means he's probably had a couple of 200-yard games, and he's had a couple of 100-yard games. But
they primarily run the ball.
So they're going to be.
Quarterback is 529. Another quarterback has 382 for the season. 911 total. So
yeah, so they're gonna probably they may even be some type of option team. We'll get the skinny on them as the week goes on. Kings Mountain's going to Northern Guilford next. So
I think they're in Greensboro as well, isn't it? Northern
Guilford County, yeah. Guilford County's up around that direction. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. Again, made a lot about last week's first round, and like, man, do we really need to be playing these teams with 2 wins and all that kind of stuff? So if you look at it as this was the first round of the playoffs, I mean, again, except for the 21-20 win for Kings Mountain, all the rest of them were blowouts tonight for Cleveland County. So that sounds about right. So we'll definitely see how it goes next week. But again, the Golden Lions tonight, 65-34, the victory over the previously once beaten East Rutherford Cavaliers. They were 9-1, finished the season 9-2. Shelby will now advance to play Mount Airy next Friday night at Mount Airy. So again, need a good crowd to make that trip. And hey, regardless, win or lose, we'll be here to talk about it next Friday night on the pod. So for Juice, what do you got for the weekend before we get out of here? College games, we got a couple of big ones on the schedule.
Texas and Georgia would be a good one.
I was going to say, what do you think? Who you got in that one?
I think Texas is finding his rhythm. I don't know. I'd say Texas is gonna upset Georgia. I think Texas goes to Athens and beat them.
Okay, I do not feel that myself. If I think if Georgia's getting beat again, it's going to be Georgia Tech next weekend on Thanksgiving weekend. I don't think it's or whenever Thanksgiving is. It's not going to be 2 weekends. I
I
don't
just
think
think,
Texas. I don't think Texas is going to Georgia and winning, but we'll see.
Georgia
Pitt
starts
Notre
off so slow.
Pitt and Notre Dame is really the only game that matters much in the ACC. We'll see how that one turns out. Pitt has turned around and been, they still got a chance to maybe do something in the ACC. Carolina at Wake Forest. We'll see if Carolina can keep the good play going again. They've won 2 in a row after being really close in 4 straight. So we'll see if the Heels can keep it rolling. Clemson was playing tonight. I know at one point they were tied 3-3 with Louisville. I don't know how'd they come out.
It's 20-19 right now. Clemson has the ball 4th and 8 on their 45-yard line. 38 seconds left.
Are they up or down?
They're up 20-19.
Oh, they're up 20-19. All right. Well, they're probably going to punt then, I would think. So
yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. You got the ACC picture. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how some of these other games turn out as well as we get down to the end of the college football season. So for Jacari Shell, I'm DA on the 2 Days in a Mic breakout Shelby Go Lion podcast. We'll see you next week. Peace.